Westchester by the Sea Select Board to order. This meeting is being recorded. Yeah, right. Call to order. Jeff,
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
Kathy,
Here.
Ann is here.
John is here.
Great. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items here or
I'm gonna turn this to.
online?
I don't see anything on.
Okay. There is no chairman's report. We should take a look at the agenda items. I noticed that there are a couple we were supposed to do today that obviously need to be pushed off. Is there anything that anybody wants to add to the agendas?
Action items. I just think there's a couple of those that are TBD. We should have some target dates. That's all. I know I'm curious as to the harbor audit one. I thought that one was completed, but maybe it wasn't, and I'm not sure what the status of that one is, but we should set a target date. And then the Ocean Street, I thought we had something we wanted to do in the spring. So again, I think we could just put
Some
a
dates.
target date. Yeah,
Yep.
that would be my ask. Thanks.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the National Grid hearing. There's someone here from National Grid, or what do we?
There's no, they're not identified as, doesn't say National Grid in the title of their.
Okay,
They just didn't want me to yell at them for freezing my butt off last weekend.
If there's anyone online from National Grid for the two hearings for Bennett Street and Mascanoma Street, could you unmute yourself?
I moved it to select board close the adventure.
I don't think we have anybody. I don't think we can open it.
I don't think they have to be here.
Oh, they don't have to be here. Okay.
Is there any reason that they have to be here? We have all the information,
No, they don't.
and so.
Oh, we didn't open.
We haven't opened it.
Jeff needs to open. Yeah.
I need to.
I was just right along.
Well, I appreciate that. I move the select board open the public hearing on the petitions National Grid to install underground PVC conduit on Bennett Street and 27 Mascanoma.
Second.
Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Ann says yes.
John, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions on the materials that were presented to us? Is National Grid aware of our DPW regulations,
They are.
requirements?
They are. They've been in communication with the DPW superintendent.
Is there any other?
Actually, just one question. I mean, some of these, the national, I never asked this before, but I probably should have. We usually require that National Grid put the street or whatever back to the way it was. And there's a phrase at the bottom that says, basically the owner or permittee shall maintain the trench, pavement and settlement for 1 year. It's like a 1-year warranty or something. Who checks up on that to make sure that the pavement or the sidewalk, whatever is being ripped up is in fact 1 year, do we check after 9
Yeah.
months and say, hey, this is not right, or it is
Yeah,
right?
DPW does that.
They do a
So if,
follow-up?
yeah, if we see that it's heaving or there's a pothole or it needs to be touched up, they'll reach out to National Grid and get them out there to fix it.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a move to close the evidentiary portion of the?
Get to that once. Let's do it again. I moved that the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second.
Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
and yes.
John, yes.
Okay.
I move that the select board approve the National Grid petitions to install underground PVC conduit on Bennett Street and to 27 Masconomo Street.
Second,
Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
And yes,
John, yes.
okay,
I move that the board close the public hearing.
Second.
John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy.
Yes.
Brian
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. The,
A lot of motions.
the next thing on our agenda is the joint meeting with the planning board, and that's not for another 7 minutes. And
If you wanted, we could just go start running through the zoning.
there may be somebody online who'd like to hear it, so I would like to take advantage of that pause and ask people to say,
Yay, okay, happy to do that. I can.
okay,
Consent agenda?
Give the consent.
we could probably do the consent agenda. Is there a
Yeah,
motion?
we could also skip to co-counsel discussion too.
Okay, yeah. I just worry about jumping things around in the agenda. The consent agenda is the easiest.
Mhm.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Let's see here. Consent. Hearing none, is there a
It's
move
Okay.
to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the select board approve the consent agenda.
Second,
John,
Yes.
and yes, Kathy,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that took a minute or two. Um,
Pass this on.
Thank you. I think it's close enough. Would you like to call your board to order?
Yeah, the form. Okay, great. Sure, I'll call the meeting of the planning board to order. Attendance, we have Peter Morton here.
Here.
Chris Olney. Here. Katie Bonner Turner. Here. And Sarah Brady. Great. So I think we have our two candidates here for the
Yeah,
associate members.
that seems like something that we could somebody could probably miss and not feel.
So, oh, and Brian Fry, just coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, actually. Back in.
Yes.
Back, at town meeting, back in April, we approved the. Addition of associate members to the planning board predominantly to deal with special permits and. Site plan review, with special permits require supermajority, which is 5 members. And when you have a long one like cell signaling, that happened between an election.
Mhm.
Cell signaling, I actually had to restart their permit they gave us permission to do that very graciously. But as an example of why we need associate members. So because there are sometimes with illness or a conflict of interest where a member of the planning board maybe is away, can't attend some of the meetings. So tonight we have two candidates, Isabella Bates and Nancy Garvey. You've seen their material, and they are the only two that have put forward their name, and we've actually been advertising, I think, off and on since July. Nancy put her name in a long time ago. So, maybe we ask, them to just introduce themselves and.
May I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Would the associate members be expected to attend all planning board members
No.
meetings?
No,
How would they know when?
we will tell them. I mean, special permits have, with the, at least usually a 3-week notice before they start. So, and we would certainly invite them to attend and come up to speed. The other thing that's important is that special permits, there's a section of the zoning that's quite prescriptive about what you review special permits on. So they, it's not just a abstract, how do you feel about this project? A set of rules. And of course we have a planner who can guide all of us. So good.
So a follow up on that. So as a matter of course, all special permits, you'll say, I would like the associate folks to be here.
If they can be, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it gives us some belt and suspenders to have 9 people for whom we can get a 5-member supermajority.
For the edification of the board here, as well as the candidates, how often does that happen? How many special permits
It-
per year?
We could have a drought and then we could have a lot. And a lot of the zoning changes that we're beginning to move forward anticipate a special permit for greater oversight of things like certain things in the downtown zoning and senior housing. So I think we can expect that there is a regular stream of these, and they don't all take that long. A lot of times sometimes it can be a meeting or two. We had to review the rotunda and the docks and 208 Summer Street and cell signaling most recently, so.
Okay,
I have a question.
Sure.
To refresh my memory, because maybe we've discussed this and we'll educate now. 5 members are elected, 2 are appointed.
7.
Okay,
No, how many are we? We're 7 members.
7 members in total. Are we going to at some point have elections for associate members as well?
Nope, that was discussed when we proposed the zoning change and debated extensively. And the feeling was that it would be a good, that there are a couple reasons to have them appointed, not elected, which is actually about what the zoning says. But anyway, the reason we decided to have them appointed instead of elected is that election scares a lot of people off. And we sometimes have trouble getting enough candidates to run for election. And this is a good way to have people do kind of a part-time planning board job and fill the positions, and then maybe a training ground for people to decide that planning board is the most fun they've ever had, and then they'll kind of that's it.
So it's a succession.
But that's already been decided in the zoning. It was decided as an
I'm just concerned that at some point, an appointed member might be a vote that's required. Okay. And as far as having some kind of, there's a word I'm looking for.
bias or something.
Not a bias, but more of accountability that we as elected members have to the public as opposed to appointed members.
Yeah.
So that's my only concern.
That maximum they'd be 2 out of 5. So,
Still
Yeah.
2 out of 5 could
Yeah.
tip the scales one
Yeah.
way or the other.
no, 2 out of
Well,
7,
but-
yeah.
Anyway, I just,
We
that's
usually
my
get
only
also
concern.
good recommendation
I'm
from staff.
just big into accountability here.
Yeah. That part, that was decided at town.
Thank you.
So what will the terms be?
So there are 2 terms. I think there's one is 1 year, or they were gonna stagger them, and I thought we'd flip a coin. Is that- I don't know. I can't think of another way to do it.
I think what we're gonna do tonight is appoint them
Appoint them, and we'll
both to
decide.
the end of June. And then we'll reappoint for the 1-year term and the 2-year term starting July 1st.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
well, just because her application is first, Nancy Garvey, would you? Oh, I don't have to stand up, but
Can't see me over there. I've lived in Manchester for 20 years, but, and I had fun because I was on the planning board for 6 years
Mhm.
under Carol Cabot. And she recruited me when I was kind of a little grumpy about a house that was being built behind us. And she's like, oh, this obviously is bothering you. Why don't you join up the planning board and you can really find out about the rules and the regulations? And because I didn't know anything about that. So when we bought our house and the reals, nobody told us about this house coming up behind us. So it's just interesting information. So during the 6 years, I had a baby. So it was like balancing my son and I was working full time, but I still managed to have fun. But I've done other things in the town. Actually, just recently, we just had our house on house tour for the Manchester Historical Museum. So that was kind of a meaningful experience, just seeing 150 residents come through our house. And, you know, I just felt really good about it just because we opened up our home to this community. And I have a son who graduated from the high school and he's thriving now. So I'm really proud of that and the fact that he's lived in this town. You know, we've all lived here in the town. I have a master's degree in education. I'm a former teacher. Currently I teach skiing at Snow Mountain. So I have a part-time job. So I have a lot of flexibility in terms of my time. I'm a little busy in the winter, but you know, primarily this is our full-time residency. So I'm here and ready to serve.
Any questions from planning board? Well done. Yeah. Are there any questions from the select board? Do I have a motion?
I don't think that's a sign.
Me, Brian. I move that the select board appoint Nancy Garvey. Oh, and Isabel.
You want to wait?
Let's wait. I was afraid one of you was going to fail.
Well, come over here too. My name is Isabella Bates and we've been full-time residents here for 16 years, but I literally have been in Manchester part of all 82 years of my life. My mother even brought me in a laundry hamper from Denver, Colorado as a 3-month-old to spend time in Manchester. I began attending planning board meetings when there was a great deal of conflict going on in the planning board. And I, as a 45-year meditator, felt that what I could do is to be a peaceful presence in the room. Taking slow, deep breaths, calming everything down. And I began to see that not only are there technical things that the planning board deals with, but a great deal of emotion comes up around the house next door, kind of thing like this. And so there's both the technical and the emotional that have to be dealt with as part of the planning board. I can quite honestly say that I know very little about the technical aspects of the laws, but I'm a very good listener. And I think that I could absorb what's needed, especially given a little bit of warning about it and studying up. And I would be very happy to support the planning board process in the town by being an alternate.
Are there any questions from the planning board? Are there any questions from the select board?
I just want to, it's just your professional background previously. I am a voice and piano teacher and meditation teacher.
That's the deep breaths and.
Oh, yeah.
You need that when you read bylaws.
I was gonna say, show me an engineer and I'll show you someone who's playing piano. So the technical aspect should be very easy.
In the absence of any questions, I'll try again. I move that the select board appoint Nancy Garvey and Isabella Bates as associate members of the planning board for terms to expire on June 30th, 2026.
Second.
John?
Yes.
Anne says yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Thank you both very much.
We
Yeah.
have joint,
I'm sorry.
Right.
make a motion for the planning board to appoint Isabel Bates and Nancy Garvey Let's,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
In June, is there going to be another formal process?
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out.
Coin flip. You
Okay.
can help us mediate that.
okay, we can move on.
Okay, zoning.
Zoning.
Can you share? Can I share?
Oh, yes.
This one's done. It's not too. So, all set?
Yeah, it should be.
Um. So I just, pull together a few slides to keep, Chris, you want to join me up here? Sure. Um. So, in preparation for town meeting, we've been working hard. We will not try to do a lot of debate about what our proposals are for town meeting. Happy to hear from you, tonight if you want, or, any other time, but, what we, want to do is just brief you on the work we've been doing. We came a while ago to talk about this. So in your packets, you have the list of possible articles, downtown zoning, senior housing, inns, general bylaws, changes, and perhaps ADUs. And in your packet, I think there was something about hotels, and last meeting we voted to wait on that. So we've done a bunch of outreach, forums, walks. The website has frequently asked questions and drafts. And then, of course, we have future public hearings. So let's start with downtown. As I think you know, we're trying to really have our zoning reflect what's there today, because our current zoning does not reflect much of what's there today. And we've divided a portion of the general district into two districts: the town center and the harbor's edge. And the towns, we recently removed the portion of Elm Street with the Mariposa and the bike shop from the town center for a couple of reasons. One, it already has a lot of parking. We want to maintain those more generous parking requirements. And also, if the Central Street culvert is done, it'll be very hard to make that case for commercial in that area, at least for a time. And so, and a number of other reasons. So the town center goes from basically Bluebird to Seabreeze variety, simplest term, and the post office. And the harbor's edge goes from the Beach Street, the hardware store, Crosby's, Madam Haddam, the dry cleaner, and Harbor Point. And the distinction, Harbor's Edge currently has significant parking to meet their customer needs, where the others by and large do not. So in the town center, we're proposing mixed use on the first floor, along the street up to a depth of 25 feet. The new retail is about 16 feet deep. What's the name of it? Copper Shed, just to give you perspective. With up to 4 residential units per lot, and that means a lot that complies with zoning, being 6,000 square feet or other requirements. And those residential units can be above or behind the first floor retail or commercial space. There are setback requirements and height requirements that reflect what's there on the ground today. Parking, we're requiring 0 spaces for commercial and 1 for residential unit. Locate those parking behind the building. So we want to have zoning reflect what's there today, which is largely buildings up to the street with parking behind. An example of that is considerable parking behind Hallis. You might not know that unless you look at it from Google Earth. In the Harbor's Edge, we are required, I should have said in the town center, if you want to propose residential on the first floor, you would need a special permit, to your earlier question. In the Harbor's Edge district, we're requiring commercial on the entire first floor, the end. And that reflects what's there today. residential above, with a maximum of 15 units per acre. Again, that kind of mirrors the, MBTA zoning. So, and we will have a, affordable, requirement for, I think it's over 5 units. Oops. My, mouse is. Oops, sorry. You said I can't do anything. Oops. Sorry. In both districts, if it's in a historic district today, the historic district standards remain. And it will be reviewed by the Historic Commission. And in the remainder, the design standards that we put into the MBTA zoning would be applied. So the idea here is to try to keep the look and the feel of our downtown with some review. And you can review those design standards, which talk about materials and lengths of roof lines and dormers and so forth. So we're gonna run through all of these, I guess, and just sort of say, here's what they are. So I'm gonna turn it over to you for senior housing, because Chris is the senior housing expert. So.
Okay, so I've been trying to push for a senior housing bylaw for about, I don't know, 8 years now. About a third of the population of Manchester is 65 years of age or older. And it's getting bigger all the time. And we are the only town in the North Shore, and probably in most of Massachusetts, does not have a zoning provision to regulate senior housing. So we just can't have any. Except I guess a single family house, if you were to make that a senior, I guess you could do that, but the kind of senior housing we're talking about are, I guess we all know the bigger ones. Brooksby Village is a great example of a huge one. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about smaller clustered townhomes. Wenham has got a couple of really great examples. The Maples downtown Wenham is, I think, about 55 condo units. Across the street from it is the Boulders, which is a much fancier place with all 3-bedroom condos for seniors. So we're talking about that kind of scale in Manchester. We're talking about no more than 10 units per acre, which would be allowed for the independent housing part of this in any residential district in the town. If you had an acre, you could ask for a special permit to provide up to 10 units of senior housing on it. All the underlying requirements in the district would still apply, height, setbacks, and so forth. There's also assisted living, which is housing which provides services, meals, medical care, that sort of thing. And then that we're offering the same density requirement of 10 units an acre. We're excluding certain districts because we think that there'd be too much busyness in, say, the D district to support assisted living. We may change that in a couple of years, depending on what happens. But one of the best examples of assisted living is the John Bertram House in Salem, which is 25 units of assisted living in an old historic house. And that's the kind of thing we'd like to see happen here as well. So who would benefit from this? Well, clearly seniors who want to downsize would have an option that they don't have now. And a lot of seniors, as we know, are retiring, trying to downsize, can't, and have to move out of town, which is bad for them and it's bad for the town. The other people who would benefit are generally residents in town whose parents may be living in California or somewhere that they'd like them to move closer to home so they could again find a place in Manchester for it. So yeah, so we've also limited the size of units to make them more small scale to meet the town. The size limits for each apartment type. We're also, there's a local preference. So people who have lived in town or currently live in town or have relatives or are former employees would all have preference when it comes to marketing these things. So that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Why don't we keep going through all the articles and then we can circle back. The last, big zoning thing is hotels and inns. What we're gonna do is, define them, because they're not defined, as, transient occupants, common entrance, might include a restaurant or, recreation facilities if that's not in the district. And an inn is limited to 12 guests. And what we're proposing right now, last meeting, we decided to wait on regulating hotels just because we had some feedback that people were worried about hotels, so we're gonna start with inns. So units allowed in the town center, the new town district, downtown districts by right, in the general district with special permit, and a limited commercial allowed by right. Are we allowing in any other districts? I think so. No, not right now. And the idea here is that having that small inn downtown helps also with that vibrance that we're trying to do. We recommend, just to circle back to downtown zoning, we recognize that zoning is only one tool among many that we need to cobble together to keep our downtown vibrant. So perhaps converting a building to an inn would help to address downtown vibrancy. So the next proposal is a fairly simple amendment to the general bylaws to regulate driveway entrances. This is the planning board used to review every single driveway entrance with a site walk. We moved it to that responsibility to the DPW and moved the driveway entrance requirements to the general bylaw. But when we did that, we made it very restrictive, absolutely no exception process. And it just needs to be rewritten to be more flexible, reflect the real world where sometimes with topography changes, you actually need two site entrances, which are prohibited, just flat out prohibited in the general bylaws. And it was developed by Mark Resnick, our planner, and DPW. So even though it's coming from us. And it will have compendium regulations that the planning board adopts. I guess last is, we were asked by Sarah Mellish to look at modifying the ADU, the large ADU bylaw. That's 901 to 1200 square feet that we allowed as of April 2025. The issue is that the large ADUs are not allowed in the D districts. That's the heater area. And the rationale when we proposed that was that two family structures are already allowed in that district. And Sarah Mellish asked us to consider making a change to allow the large ADUs in the D district. And right now we're still evaluating it. One of the issues that we think we're kind of on the fence because I think it's a little bit more complicated than just that. One of the things that the two family requirement is that it be a single building. And we're wondering if perhaps that's the thing that should be changed. So we're still talking about this one. So in summary, downtown zoning, senior housing, inns, and the general bylaw change for driveways. Possibly ADUs, but ADUs sometimes cause lots of lengthy discussions at town meetings, and we want to really be ready for that one if we're going to move it forward. So comments, questions, hopefully that with the frequently asked questions has at least given you an idea. And I know many of you have attended our hearings and walking tours and all of that. So I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions here. Mostly really it's on the senior housing initiative. And I've got a question about lot size and exactly how many lots are involved. We've got a lot of non-conforming lots in many of our zones. And the way you've got it written down here is that the minimum is 1 acre in B, D, and G districts and 2 acres in A, C, and E districts. My question would be, how many lots in these districts meet that requirement? And what is the total amount of acreage compared to the run amount of acreage meets that compared to the total acreage there? Are we putting something in place that is gonna apply to like 2 lots and that's it?
That's a very, very good question.
Cause you know, you wanna make a difference, but I don't know if you are.
We haven't really just finally decided on that. One of the options is to allow a half acre as the minimum lot size.
I saw that on the slide. That's not on your draft.
Yeah.
And maybe you got, maybe you don't know if you
So that would
have.
allow for 5 units, and that's more in keeping with the kind of scale of the town. 5 units wouldn't be that onerous. There are plenty of those kinds of buildings, residential buildings around. 10 is a little bit bigger, but still would fit in an awful lot of places. But there may not be enough of them. I think you're exactly right, and that's.
Well, there may be too many. I'm not even sure what the right number is, but I'd like to see what the numbers are.
Well, I don't think every eligible acre of land is gonna get senior housing. done.
No. It's just a question and, I mean,
Yeah, if we
it
really,
involves every area, A through G.
so I think the point is if we really want senior housing, we should make it easier, not harder to build them.
Okay, all right. It's my
They do
first,
have a special permit, so the, you know, if people are concerned about staff or trash or, you know, hours of operation or lighting or.
Or even an inappropriate place.
Okay.
You can say no.
are these answers that you'll try and come up with?
Yes,
Well, you've got time,
yeah,
not a lot, but you've got some time.
you have time.
Okay, that's my first question. Second question, you've got 1,200, 900, and 600 for 2, 1, and 0 bedrooms.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where those numbers came from. And just looking at people who are downsizing are downsizing from larger houses. And to fit something into 1,200 square feet, and I don't have a real good feel for 1,200, but I'm wondering, is that too little? Should it be like 2,000? I don't know.
Those are standard apartment sizes. So we tried to just stick with sort of the.
That's the term, downsize.
Yeah, downsizing is liberating, John, and sometimes once you get going.
Well, it's,
Well, one of the.
That might lateral it is, I'll clean the whole thing up.
Well,
We
one of the
generally
things
let- we
we
generally
work
let the
with is
board talk.
Boulders and,
I have been in those. Those are not 1,200 square feet.
no, they are huge and they cost $1.5 million.
Yes,
And we don't think that's appropriate.
I'm not saying that is, although you put that in as an example.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
this looks nice.
It does.
So I think the issue is we are hearing and feeling over and over that we want to have a range, 2 things. One is we keep saying we want a range of price points. And the way you sort of keep prices low is making them big A affordable, or you restrict how big that can be because the market, you know, so price and size are correlated. So we're trying to respect that and say, this is really about the smaller units, the little a, less expensive units. And we'll see if the market tells us that that's a really bad idea. But we're not trying to build a big residential clusters with 3-bedroom, 4,000 square foot.
No, I'm not changing the bedroom size or anything. I just, general
No,
living space.
John, to that point, I think you'll be surprised at how big 12.
Yeah.
That's a big apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know, but the typical person may be downsizing from 5,000. And-
Downsizing 5,000, you're not staying.
Right.
No, they got another house.
They're not looking.
They got another house,
Yeah.
but still, I'm just wondering.
All those yard sales.
I'm on a roll here. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Okay, you've got 10 units per acre. Independent living and assisted living. The example, Bertram House, how many units?
25.
Okay, that's a lot more than, it's not sitting on an acre.
No,
I'm-
we say on a quarter, actually, so.
I'm just wondering, assisted living, because you're needing assistance and somebody who's not far away to be able to help you. I'm not sure that density is high enough for somebody to say, I can build assisted living here at 10 units. It's maybe a little tight.
So there is one in
Question seconds.
Saugus, actually, 9 units in an old ranch house that they modified. Which again, seems to work, and often you see these communities where there'd be 3 or 4 of them scattered around within a half mile of each other. And they all get served by a single management, operation, but they're all in separate little.
Yeah, they have to be in separate lots or something
Yeah.
because, and I can understand, oh, that's a rather complex arrangement.
Well, it is, but it's something we should consider.
Don't forget, we've been talking about this for 5 years, so we have heard people,
Even longer.
but we have, people have said they're worried about, a 10-unit facility next to their single-family home as feeling that it's, so that's why there's special permit review, and that's why we've capped it at that density. To
And
try to
actually-
respect what we've heard,
And
which is,
a 2-unit property on 6,000 square feet is around 10 units per acre.
Mhm.
with all of these things, there's a continuum of whether it's density or parking or setbacks that we hear. And so we try to strike a middle balance.
So when we're talking, just to be clear, the 10 units per acre, we're talking about a mid-rise or something like that. We're not talking townhouses.
Oh, the townhouses would be.
10 acres.
Yeah. 10
Yeah.
units an acre. Yeah.
Mine is 11, my property.
Yeah, it'd be- yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It'd be a
they're
perfect
pretty
example.
big.
As I recall that under, again, my experience is 8 per acre by the state and 18 per acre if you're going up on 40B. So that's where I was drawing that comparison.
And again, we're talking about smaller units, so.
I had a question, just a clarifying question on the senior housing. Could you explain the difference between what you're describing as independent living versus any property just being age restricted to 55 and over? What's the difference between the two, or is there a difference?
There is no difference.
Okay, so it's another label for just deed restricted 55 and over.
Yes,
Okay,
and no services. That's it.
and no service, yeah, no
special
services, just deed restricted.
Like
Okay.
Newport Park is.
Right, okay, and then the other question I had was, I couldn't quite figure out from the language if like a conversion of an existing complex would be allowed, if it met all the other requirements. I don't know if any such properties exist, maybe not, but, would that be allowed?
So you remember, down Summer Street is a property called
Oakwood.
Oakwood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
on Raven
was-
Street.
Which was kind of what we're talking about.
Well, that was assisted for sure.
It was
Yeah.
definitely assisted. My mother-in-law lived there. And she needed a lot of assistance. But that's the kind of facility we're talking about. Like, it's a great example. And I don't think there are more than 15 units in it.
Okay, but I mean, if somebody had, like, for example,
Yeah.
you have the, some of the buildings on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
That at the end of Elm Street,
Would
it be
Powerhouse, for example?
yeah, the powder house. Would it be possible to convert
Sure.
some of those? Okay,
Yes.
so it's not like new construct, not everything's new. You could repurpose some of those existing, like you were saying.
Well, we're thinking of some of these estates along the coast.
Right.
If they were being sold and gonna be torn down, this would be a good.
Thank you.
luxury use.
I think that was the only question I had. Thank
Along the
you.
coast.
So the next step is that we're gonna go back and still finalize these, then we return to you. You vote to authorize us to put them on the warrant, then we hold a public hearing. And that happens pretty soon, this month,
The 17th.
the 17th, which is your next meeting.
Because I apparently can't read, what is the relationship between the senior housing and capital A affordable? That is to say,
No. Okay, so what we're saying, I guess I should mention that. We're saying that for every 5 units, one of them has to be affordable. It's inclusionary zoning. So if you have 10 units, you'd have to have.
and then you get an extra.
And if you wanted to do more than that, the planning board could consider additional. zones.
My concern is with the complexity, frankly, of establishing and maintaining senior, affordable, capital A affordable housing. I'm afraid you're going to cap every development at 4 units.
It's possible, but I hope not. We, as part of the MBTA zoning, we had the feasibility study done to see if 20% was a reasonable number, and it turned out it was fine for Manchester, so we're banking on that.
Okay.
If it turns out not to be the case, well, then we'll come back to you in a year or so.
Is there any incentivizing for the affordable, or just you hit this number, you're gonna have to build something affordable to
So a
go?
little bit of both. We're saying for every 5, you have to do one, and if you want to do another one, we would consider it if it were affordable.
So they could get 6 out
So
of
they could get 6,
And then,
But then 2 would be affordable.
and then 2 would be affordable.
my concern is cost of construction
Yeah,
and amortization, the land
Sure.
acquisition costs. So basically what you're saying is, right now, you're gonna, one is just gonna basically cover the cost of construction if they're lucky. Or the other 4 have to help offset the cost, which then is not a driving factor for any developer who wants to get into.
Well, I guess we'll
Business.
let's see.
Yeah, that's, I think that we have to be prepared.
Yeah, sure.
they go to 5, but if they can go to 9, and there's just 1.
Yeah,
4, 9, so those are kind of the cutoffs, and then they have to build another report. Okay,
and that is, we don't want to create too much more pressure on the need for SHI properties.
I understand, yeah, we're growing the denominator.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bates, did you have something? you
Well,
wanted?
I just wanted to say that a great number, I've been going to Brooksby Village as a hospice volunteer for 15 years, and I've been in almost all their configurations there. And most of the people at Brooksby Village came from houses. And they've managed to squeeze themselves down. And in the assisted living, many couples live in a single room. You do what you, not you.
So they still like each other.
Now, that's another one. Chuck and you.
Well, she's a man.
Are there any other questions from?
I just had a question about the inns. On your slide, it said parking spaces per guest, but should it say parking spaces per room?
Yeah.
Probably should say per room.
Yeah.
And then employees are gonna have to find, some,
We can look at, we'll look at that, yeah.
Good catch.
that's why he's here.
So I can go home now.
Congratulations.
I will thank Chris and Sandy ran me through this a couple of weeks ago, so I appreciate the time you spent there with us. Thank you.
Appreciate your time too.
Thank you very much for thank you board for coming. With that, if there's nothing else, I'll adjourn our board.
Okay, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Do
Thank
your
you.
associate members have to vote?
Oh, you gotta raise their hand.
I got
All right.
sworn in, I guess.
Yep.
Get sworn in, yep.
That we. Oh, I didn't.
You'll see each other again.
I'll be ready for the next station.
Oh, good.
Oh. Next on our agenda is the co-counsel discussion and appointment. Tony's, I think.
Yes.
Hello.
So we have, I double checked, the reason I bring this in front of you is, our general bylaws state that it's the select board's responsibility to appoint town council on 1-year terms. So I think we have to get into the habit of doing that in July. We have had, KP Law represents the town as town council. What we have found, and not due to, not really due to a poor use of legal assistance, but we had a lot of larger cases this year. and our legal budget ran pretty hot. We've spent a lot of funds, this year. So, Pierce Davis is another law firm that offers municipal counsel. What my recommendation is that we appoint Pierce Davis as co-counsel. So we'll still use KP Law for most of our, core needs as far as any type of litigation, town meeting, things of that nature. Pierce Davis can assist us with some of the more day-to-day legal assistance tasks that we might have. Their rate is about $50 cheaper per hour. And they have had experience through Maya and Catarisk, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Gladfelter, Sedgwick.
Representing the town of Manchester by the Sea. So I had a similar setup in the hunt. I spoke with KP Law. We're looking at other cost saving options as well. But we don't want to sacrifice the legal guidance. Obviously, we're not doing that. But there are a number of things that we do. For instance, if a department is bringing new software into their department, that comes with a contract. Those are things that I would typically use like Pierce Davis for, rather than KP Law for. Those are simple type of legal review things that we don't need to be spending close to $300 an hour. So that's really, most of this is about trying to control a lot of our legal costs here in town. So with that, Dan, could you also introduce your partner and speak a little bit about Pierce Davis and
Yeah, my name is Dan Scripp. Tony and I have been working together since 2019, since he first became town administrator in the haunt. This is Adam Sims, partner of Pierce Davis. I brought him along because he had represented Manchester in the past in a number of cases. And is pretty familiar with the town. But in terms of the day-to-day stuff Tony's talking about, that would fall on me because I've been doing it for 7, 8 years now with not and I'm on my 4th town administrator now. Tony was a 3rd. And it's funny, Tony says $50 cheaper, and I never thought about the rate because I just enjoy doing it. I came from, like, you came.
Okay.
We don't offer for you.
I think about the rate.
His job, I just do the work, right? You're a New Jersey guy, I grew up in Pennsylvania, down Narrowwood, Glenbridge. And I grew up in a very small town, so I enjoy doing work and all. So when I quoted my rate to Jeff Shelgren, 2 T's before you, I never even thought about it. I said, $195 at the time it was. And I just thought, sounds good to me. Because I just enjoy doing it, and it's just has gotten better and better. And I never changed my rate. I mean, for a decade, I never thought about it because I didn't think it was work. I know it sounds odd. I just thought of it as I live in a haunt. So a lot of the cases that came through my desk or issues I think my desk. Oh yeah, I know this guy. Talk to him. So I developed into a bit of a specialty in terms of administrative or municipal law outside of just litigation. And it's funny, for Brian Solossi, I can hear your ZBA voice coming out through those questions about the bylaws. So I'm thinking, okay, that's a ZBA. I recognize that. Those questions.
You've done homework.
What's that?
You've done homework too.
I'll bet. So, so then we just increased the rate to two something about just before you left, actually. And again, it was just because I enjoy doing the work, and I still do. I enjoy it very much. And it's funny because I was snuck into your Zoom meeting when you were considering the hiring of Tony, and you described all these things. He delegates well. He has a strong knowledge of coastal community issues, a strong graphic fiscal analysis, and is very approachable. And we've got, darn, that's exactly why we want to keep him. Because being the BOS, when we were considering a new person, we thought to ourselves, well, that's exactly why we love Tony. And so I'm still considering who made the best hire in 2025, the select board of Manchester or the Patriots. We're going to find out on Sunday whether who made the better. I don't see any rings on your finger. We'll find out on Sunday.
I'm okay with Vrabel taking that, I want a victory on Sunday.
That'd be nice. So,
but we worked on some housing court issues with tenants of the
Yeah,
town. The
that's still
town
going on.
owned some property that we actually managed. We worked a lot of day-to-day things, general bylaw review, you worked closely with the planning board on a lot of different articles as well.
We got our MBTA community bylaws just approved by
Yeah.
the state, so that was a lot of work. I see ADUs come up here quite a bit. That came through 2 years ago. There's a lot of work we did. I remember sitting in town hall in the basement for, 9 o'clock at night for an hour going through the bylaws with you. And a hot ticket now is short-term rentals. I'm sure you guys are hitting that too.
Mhm.
We're getting a lot of folks that are just trying to, Little Nahat is a hot topic now. Trying to skirt the issues, and now we've gotten beyond the drafting of bylaws, passing the bylaws, getting it through the AG's office. Now we're into enforcement, which is a whole other animal. So that's an interesting next thing that's going on. I hear senior housing come up quite a bit today. We have no designated senior housing in the Nahat, but Mark has always been fighting for that sort of thing, our former Board of Selectmen chair. And just this morning, we were in front of the SJC. I say we as in the Nahat. We're in front of the SJC fighting against Northeastern for the big easement that we took from their campus up there in Little Nahat or Big Nahat. I don't have a lot to do with that, but that's just an example. Nahat's a small town, but there's a lot of big things going on. Unfortunately, and sometimes unfortunately, but that's a huge one. That's going to set some precedent. I'm pretty sure that Judge Carson will get tipped and it'll come out in our favor. But that's something that would go to something like KP Law, or in this case, Greenberg Troy, because they're specialists in that thing. I would do more of the day-to-day stuff. I'm not in any facet trying to take KP's place. I respect them. In fact, I would sometimes resort to them, say, Tony, that's beyond my bailiwick. You got to take that to Jeff Blake or something like that. And I have no problem saying that, because I'm not about to put the town or a client in a spot where I can't confidently advise them on. A lot of open meeting law stuff came up, public record stuff came up. Open meeting law, especially with one of your former coworkers, it came up all the time. And they know Shannon, so that's what he knows.
And
Busy.
public records.
That was
things.
that was good.
These are the types of things that come up constantly that, take a lot of time, they're tedious, and I think we could use it. And then I'll just say that you've also, on issues that have either been deferred to KP Law or worked with KP, it's always been a smooth operation working alongside with them as well.
Adam is very familiar with all those folks over there at KP. I mean, Adam is also a former AAG, Assistant Attorney General, such a lot of KP guys and gals over there too. So there's some common sort of themes going on between our two firms for sure. But at the end of the day, you come to me with a big, Wetlands Protection Act issue. So you know what, you got to talk to Amy Questle. I'm not going to go into that because that's not what I get into, and then I can do stuff either. So it's more of a day-to-day sort of stuff, almost like more boring type stuff, but then stuff that needs to be addressed needs to be done.
So, something near and dear to my heart, purchase and sales and condo docs. This is something that we would refer to them as opposed to KP.
No, we used to, for real estate law, we use Sharon Everett as well, in the hunt. Where we worked closely with Dan was on the eviction process, like the housing law.
Enforcement.
On that same line, I can tell you that this is great. It's a great question, because so the Coast Guard housing law had 11 units on it, independently standing homes, 3 bedrooms, all this. So I took the planning board, I took our planning board through the A&R process. We got through that pretty smoothly. We had Hayes Engineering help us. But then when it came to transactional work, that's when you turn to KP. So this is more the big procurement questions and the big deed restricted questions, as someone mentioned, deed restrictions. That went to Amy. I think it was Amy that did all that stuff. So I think that's an example of where we worked very well together, transitioning from one phase to the other. And we are down to, I think, 1 unit left, certainly 1, because that's still in litigation. But I think that's it. I think all other 10 are sold off.
Yeah.
That was a huge victory on Tony's part, because that was a huge process, because you have a lot of folks, older folks, that said, hey, listen, this could be used for senior housing, affordable housing. Well, the fact is, town meeting looked at all that, and they decided on something different.
How big is your firm? How many attorneys have you got?
Well, okay, so that's an interesting question. We go nationwide.
Oh, yeah,
The
okay.
municipal firm, though, just the municipal arm of it, 8, 10.
About 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and we represent cities and towns across the Commonwealth. We go out as far away, I mean, we've gone pretty far out west, quite a bit.
Cover the whole state.
Okay, well, I mean, that sounds for day-to-day stuff. That's, I know KP, they've got specialty groups.
They do.
Do specialty stuff. You are not those guys.
No,
And
absolutely
you
not.
would be the first to admit that,
So when
so.
Tony calls me, he talks to me and pretty much only me.
Yeah.
So that's probably the big difference is I'm not gonna hand Tony off or any one of you to an associate or someone, or even Adam for that matter, Adam, but although they're great sounding boards for sure. But I would be the guy, that would be answering the questions and taking the heat.
You mentioned that there's a part of our bylaws that says we appoint council in July. And I have to confess, I haven't read that. Does it specify one council?
I have it up here. So it just says, select board members shall annually, on or before the first day of June, appoint a member of the bar in good standing to serve as town council for the term of 1 year, or until his successor is appointed and enters upon the performance of his duties. So it doesn't, they shall likewise fill any vacancy in said office for the unexpired term and may employ special counsel to assist the said town council whenever in their judgment necessity thereof arises.
It's common language.
Right.
It's not honest thing that.
Fine.
So having you decide, this goes to this firm and this goes to that firm. It sounds as if that was anticipating that is a person who is the town council. And that person sends out. So do we have a reason to think about changing bylaws, what I'm leading up to?
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's, I mean, a lot of our bylaws, this one included, could probably use some cleaning up. I'm sure this was amended in 1974, so it predates the town administrator
Read
act.
you.
Predates me as a human being.
Now back.
Sorry. But I think it's fine. I think the language here is fine as is for us to be able to operate this way, yeah.
So we can approve a co-counsel and you can delegate the jobs.
I think,
And
I think that would be a standard role for a town administrator.
And we won't discover that we are being sued by one of our litigious
Right.
An
residents.
example would be in the haunt, Tony hired I think Tony through KP Law hired Greenberg Troeck to deal with the Northeastern takings act. He would be special counsel. I think so. That's where the breed I come into. It's very common to happen all the time.
Yeah, I think it's really smart to have multiple suppliers, multiple supplier partners for different needs. So I think it sounds good.
What's the annual casino night? I want to be part of that. That's your opinion.
Yeah, that's me, yeah.
What is it?
We hold a casino night at the Sons of the American Legion every year for raise money for scholarships.
We have a Christmas tree burning festival every year.
I wonder
We
when,
just did that.
We just did that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. You guys should consider that. That's
We just did it.
We just
Oh,
did it.
so do we. I think it's as in the hot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kids love the firemen a lot too.
Function of burning the thing. It's fun.
Are you ready for a motion?
yes,
I move the board appoint Pierce Dares and Peritano as co-counsel for the town of Manchester by the Sea for a term to expire on June 30th, 2026.
Second.
can I ask for an amendment?
Yeah, 27.
27, friendly amendment.
Oh, yeah.
And
It should be
make it
27.
May 31st?
Yes, yeah, because it says the first day of June. Yep. May 31, 2027.
Is there a second?
as,
Kenny, will
as
you,
amended.
will you accept?
Yes.
Friendly,
Yes.
I'll second that. Further discussion? Don,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
All right.
Are you very persuasive tonight? Thank you. I look forward to seeing you right now.
The next item on the agenda is the Sustainability Committee appointment of Donna Brewster. Would you like to tell us a little bit about why you're interested in that committee?
Well, my background is science. And so I guess I wanted to be able to help the community. With my background in science, chemistry, environmental engineering, I thought it'd be a good fit. I've gone to a couple of their meetings and it's something I'm very interested in, looking at the water quality around here and, just seeing how I could, help the community.
John?
Good. No, I'm happy you raised your hand. That's great. Thank you, Donna.
Kathy?
Yes, I'm also very happy you raised your hand. I think you're well qualified for for that committee. Thank
Well, I
you.
just see how much all of you do on a daily basis. I see it and I figured, I could help out. I could do stuff more than just being on the 4th of July committee.
Brian?
Thank you. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank
Can't
you.
imagine anything more
I
boring.
did meet with Donna a few
Okay.
weeks ago,
Mhm.
went through the interview process and, as she mentioned, her environmental engineering background, high school, chemistry teacher for 30 years. We talked a lot about our upcoming, trash,
Mhm.
waste curbside collection issues that are on the horizon for us as far as going to potentially having to go to automated collection, and that was something that was of interest of hers too, to help us with that process.
All set?
One thing I'd like to see is increase the composting in the community. That's a big one. So,
It's also financially really good.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah, that's right.
for me.
I'll talk to you about that offline. How's that? I got some ideas for you.
If you can get rid of the fruit flies, I'm all on board.
I am.
We all set?
Yep.
I move that the select board appoint Donna Brewster to the Sustainability Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2028.
Second.
John?
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes,
And Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for all you do.
You skip over number.
Skip over the-
No, well, I did, but.
Okay.
I do that, sorry. The police chief recruitment process overview and timeline.
Okay, so, Chief is here with us tonight. We spent some time, reviewing this and with the chief's, retirement coming up at the end of June, we'd like to get started on the hiring process for his replacement. The process that I sent out, to all of you, a couple weeks ago is about a 3 to 4 month process. So that times us up with hopefully making a decision and a hiring before Chief Fitzgerald retires. So there may be some overlap. And then some begging for for continued assistance after he retires. But this is a pretty standard process, I would say, as far as recruitment goes for this type of position. We want to make sure that it's a fair and consistent process, that candidates are evaluated consistently and fairly, and that we maintain transparency throughout. We have advertisement schedule of 3 to 4 weeks. Review of the applications that are received for 1 to 2 weeks. We would then ask those that the top candidates that we would like to interview to respond to a questionnaire. Then there's the interview process of 2 to 3 weeks. There's a possible public roundtable discussion. I have that on here, but I don't necessarily think it's 100% necessary. We can cut that out, especially based on timing. And then there's the final selection of 1 to 2 weeks. And then depending on the candidate that's hired, there may be a time frame from when they accept the position to when they can actually start. And of course, if there's any contract negotiations too, that would be there. So what I really wanted to do was with the chief, just have a quick discussion. Chief, do you have any comments on?
The only comment, actually, it's not or concern, it's more of comment than a concern, is I think this is a like a well-structured approach. But when we get to the questionnaire phase, the only suggestion I would make is to have maybe some outside local chiefs come in and evaluate those essay or responses, those written responses. Just because they have probably a strong idea of what a good fit would be for Manchester.
I think getting an outside perspective is a peer review, if you will.
Yeah,
is-
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. When I talked to Tony about this, I really like the process that we used to hire Jake. I thought that worked pretty well with maybe a little tweak to it. The one thing and I think this lines up pretty well. I don't think we did the public roundtable discussion for the fire chief, and then, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure that's really necessary, because this is a direct report to Tony. It's not like a town administrator position that where we're the ones doing the interviewing. You have a direct report opening. This person needs to, not just meet the needs of the community, he's gonna meet your needs as well. It's your decision that we would, hopefully support. The one thing I was a little bit uncomfortable with, and Brian, you and Todd were in the interview panel with me. I wasn't crazy about the entire makeup of the interview panel. We had some subordinates in there to the fire chief, and I've never seen that done in a panel. Usually there's like a meet and greet where subordinates can meet, their potential boss, but not interview them, So that was the only thing I thought was a little.
I guess on that was that maybe the chief can chime in on this, is that we were going through a rough patch with the
Right.
patrol.
Oh, I'm not saying they shouldn't have been.
Unions at that time, so we felt
Yeah.
that they were stakeholders and they wanted to be involved.
Yes, I don't
We have that
disagree.
situation.
I don't disagree,
Yeah.
but not at the same meeting. It's a different level of conversation.
I don't think
And
it's
so that's what,
necessary at this point.
yeah, I would not advise doing, I think the makeup of the panel is important. You need to get feedback from, different constituents. And,
I like the chief's idea of being in.
Yeah. But I wouldn't suggest doing subordinates at the same.
So I guess that leads into my question. How is this panel gonna be made up?
I would pick that panel. I would, if the chief is willing, I'd like the chief to serve on that panel with me. I'd like our human resources director to be a part of that panel as well. I'm a little cautious about how big that panel gets. I think having too many people on one side of a table during an interview process can interfere with, the true goal of the meeting. So for sure, myself, hopefully the chief, I think Jake could fit a good spot on there as well.
I was gonna say Jake should be on the.
Yeah. So try to keep it to 4,
Yeah, that makes sense. I just was wondering who.
My feelings on
Your
ladies
idea
are well
was-
known, so agree with you.
Yeah.
So really, you're the committee chair. You're driving this whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to get the
A lot of it-
information that you need, however you need to get
Yeah.
it to make your decision.
So I just wanted to, you know,
If I may, just
yeah.
briefly, when we interviewed you, we did the whole group on one candidate at a time. And we did that, because a roundtable gives the last to speak a big advantage. So I would just drop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I wanted to make sure that I put a lot in here, for you guys to take a look at. I'm happy to peel that back. I think this is a pretty thorough process and, with your approval of that, I can get it started in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting through this.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Steve. Thanks for being here.
A box of tissues.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For high school winter track,
Mhm.
he reached out late last week on Friday and said that tonight is their senior night, dinner, so we're gonna skip that tonight
Okay.
and,
So because it.
move it to next week.
Proponent can't.
So just for when we do have the discussion, what I would like to understand is specifically what events are they practicing for? Or would they like to practice in the cemetery? Because that,
I think it's just track, right?
no, but track has different events. So like I'm familiar with.
I don't, yeah, it's just practice.
Just
not
cross-country
event.
running.
So they're just running any
Cross
distance.
country is different than if they're doing sprints or they're doing the 400 around.
This was the cross.
He made it sound like the loop was, they were gonna be doing,
I think that's because it makes it easy for handicap.
Well-
We're gonna do 3 miles.
so anyway, a little specificity about
Uh,
which members of the track team, is it the cross country, the long distance, or is it the shorter distances? That makes a difference in how you use the cemetery. I was a track mom.
Fair enough.
Okay, so that goes on the list of.
No, it hurt.
Okay.
Public health, IMA.
Um, public- The Board of Health has agreed that this is acceptable to them. It will bring some services in that we don't have to pay for.
Free is good.
It's really good.
Including the person who's managing this,
It's the whole,
everything.
the Foster, the head of the Foster Public Health, very impressive woman. And I think she would treat us fairly.
Hmm.
Finding up between, rabbit. So I suggested, unless anyone has a particular objection,
I will move. I move that the select board authorize the town administrator to sign the Public Health Excellence Grant intermunicipal agreement with the city of Gloucester.
Second.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The record will reflect that everybody said yes. Now I am,
Liaison.
Liaison.
yeah, I realize it's liaison, but we have someone sitting here and I don't see.
So, Mr. Glowski's gonna speak when we get to the, annual town meeting articles, number 9.
Okay.
Because you've got nothing better to do with your time.
Okay, let's get through the liaison updates. John.
Just a couple of things. Library, they were in front of the finance committee a week and a half ago or so. We're gonna have Saturday hours, or at least it's gonna be on the agenda or on the warrant. They needed $8,500 to do that right now in Saturday hours in the summer. And the library has been closed for the weekends in the summer. Now they will have several hours on Saturdays. And so they got that put into the budget.
Can I interrupt for
Sure.
a second on that? Just to pump the brake a tad on that.
Sure,
The finance committee voted to support that.
to
request.
support that, should I say.
We still have union negotiations to go through, and of course, it needs to be supported at town meeting if it's included in
Yeah,
the final.
That's not, yeah.
But there's no reason to put it in the budget if we can't get the personnel to support the extra hours, so.
So the union.
No,
union have to
cart
be in
before the
middle.
horse, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to announce that they are definitely having weekend hours yet.
Okay.
But we're on that track.
Good.
We do need to make our recommendation.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. And 800 water meters in so far. So they're about a third of the way, a little bit more than that. So, and progress is going pretty well on that. I'll hold my senior comments. That'll come later.
Well, we heard from the planning board, so we won't get into that. Harbor Advisory finished going over the harbor regulations. No major changes there. I don't think. It's a lot of cleaning up language and getting stuff to conform with the state and things of that nature. So right now it's going to legal, and I don't know, see at some point after that, I guess. Essex Tech, I sent you guys a lengthy email, so I'll just cover that. We did get 10 minimum slots for apportionment for the lottery. And that is based on what they do is they take all the 8th grade students in the 17 districts and they put that number together, and then they figure out there's 478 seats for in-district kids, and they figure out what percentage of your 8th grade students would be in that 478 seats. So that puts us at 10 right now. So that number could change over time as population changes. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'm sure you do.
That's 10 new seats.
Each year.
10 guaranteed seats.
How many have we put in there lately?
We have 10 total over
Yeah.
the 4 grades right now.
So that's a lot less.
No, it's gonna be a lot more.
It will be a lot more. It's a lot less right now.
It's a lot less right now.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be 10 just for the freshman class.
So
Well, it could be, you don't.
if we don't-
So actually, John asked a good question. So he asked me if we have 10 seats and 10 applications, does that mean everybody gets in? Technically, yeah, but that doesn't mean by October of that year that you're gonna have 10 people there, because kids apply and then they either no show or they have, they have friends, they don't want to leave their friend, there's reasons why they apply and they don't go. And then some kids get there and say, oh, it's not for me, whatever, for whatever reason. But so right now, we will hold on to those slots. So say you have 10 slots, you have 10 apply and 2 no show. You'll hold on to those right now let me give a better example.
Please.
If you had 10, you got 10 slots, say you had 12 applications, okay? 8 show and 2 no show, you would hold on to those 2 into a second round.
Mhm.
So you could keep filling that. And then a third round would be all the applications against all the unused seats in all the districts.
All right, the question I had is, say you've got 12 applications. How do you determine which 10 come in? That's our problem.
That's the
our
lottery.
That's a lottery, a Manchester lottery.
Well,
Because we get
Not-
10 seats and we're gonna take those 10 seats.
we
just know
don't
which.
pick it though. They pick it.
That's my question. Okay, so,
They actually bring a third party in
Okay.
to do the lottery, so it's,
Oh, it'll be a lottery on those 12 to see which 10. I mean, that's not a sophisticated event particularly, but
well, not for us, but there's 17, I mean, you know, there's some districts have
yeah, but a lottery is a
800
lottery.
applications for 300 seats.
So if you have more applications than you have slots that you're entitled to, it's a lottery of some sort to determine which kids are going.
What
What
John's
was like
asking
buying a
is
lottery ticket?
if we have 10 seats and 12 people apply, how are those 10 out of the 12?
Yeah, which 10 go
Selected.
So that's the lottery part.
independent
So
lottery.
what happens is they actually,
for our town only.
each application gets a number.
Mhm.
So there's not even a name tied to it.
Yeah,
That number is furnished to a third party that handles the lottery. So, you know, it's hands-on.
It's a number and a town, so they know which town
Right.
the person.
And then that number comes up in Manchester, this is your slot, next number, but they don't pick them town by town, it goes the whole, all the numbers. So once town's filled, it'll just keep going and going until it finally picks itself eventually.
and if they come up with more names from that town in a number, they toss that out because that town
Right,
is.
because it's full now.
It's full. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. It's pure lottery.
So how many seats, what was our minimum amount of seats prior to this change?
We didn't have it, there were no minimums.
Oh.
So it was all application, so what they used to do is, kid would send in an application, they'd go through the application, and then they'd go to every school and interview every one of those applications. So like this year, we had almost 1,800 applications. So they'd have to send teams out and actually interview every one of these kids, go through, you know, their application, all their stuff, interview them, and pick from there. That's how it was done. So it was a huge undertaking.
So we have 10 over the 4 grades today. Do you think that, 4 years from now, we'll have
40 guys, 40 people.
I'll give you my opinion.
Yeah,
My opinion is you're gonna end up 32-ish, somewhere.
Okay.
That's where I think we'll end up.
Right.
I'm
it's hard to.
just looking at what, you know, the applications we've got over years and the, you know, the people I've been talking to that wanted to go and didn't get picked. And if you look at other towns our size, realistically, we should be in the 32, 35-ish kind of range.
That's a significant hit to our
Mhm.
regional school
Right.
district.
Well, that's why I said this,
Through our budget.
Yeah, well, yes, that, to our budget, because we're paying for that, but we're trying to get students in the public schools here, and that is probably taking a number of them out. There are 10 out now,
Mhm.
but there will be more.
well, yeah, this is the way I look at it,
Yeah.
and I understand the budget end of it, but if you can give a kid a better chance and put them in a position to thrive, then that's a good thing.
I don't have any problem with that, just.
No, it's more, I think, I mean, our regional school district needs to be aware of this and they need to manage their budget. a
That
little
trend-
differently if
the
they're
trend
gonna-
is-
They're well aware of it.
So,
I'm sure they are.
yeah, the first part, the second part, I'm not so sure.
Well,
They manage
that's
it
right,
different.
that's why I didn't comment on the second part.
Right, so I think that's where the onus is, they need to recognize that, 'cause I think this first year will be telling and.
I think so this thing's not set in stone. We're gonna look at it again next year. If there's tweaks that need to be that need to happen, that they'll happen, but I would imagine it's probably gonna run 2 or 3 years the way it is, and then.
I'm just curious, we got 10 kids there now, that's 2 or 3 per class on average. We got 10 kids that are interested right now.
Yep.
Wonder why the jump is.
It's really not a jump because we usually have like 8. We usually have 8 ish, 10-ish, 8 to 12 applications. That's usually what we have. So we're actually right.
The attrition is that much when school opens in September, all of a sudden, for some reason,
How many kids graduated? I know 4 or 5 kids graduated.
We have one graduating this year.
Last year we had
4, 5, yeah, 4, I think.
5 or 6. I can think of 4.
4 or 5 we had last year.
that's a lot. Relatively speaking, yeah. All right,
Well, positive side on the budget side of it is at least it's more predictable. You can plan for that cost more consistently, I guess, with this new approach. Versus in the past, you didn't know if you had 2 kids going or if you were gonna have 8 kids going. You know, now, at least like, you know, it's gonna
Plan for the
be.
10 and
what
maybe
what
get
do
a
we
nice
pay?
surprise.
Yeah, what do we pay per kid?
What's that?
Well, what's the tuition per child that we have to pay, the tech?
So our per pupil cost is right around, I think now it's gonna be around 18,000,
Okay,
which is it's less than our per pupil cost.
oh, yes, it is.
So, actually, you know what? So I'll pass this around, but if you have any questions, keep going. I actually have a little handout they gave me, so I'll get rid of it and give it to you guys. Just gives a little general where money comes from, where it goes,
Should this copy this to print?
stuff like that.
This is color, this is big money.
Big bucks.
No, we print all our own stuff.
Yeah, but where the money comes from somewhere.
That's true.
Toner, I'm telling you, it's very expensive. That's great. This is helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's now.
I guess we just have to see where it goes, I guess.
Yep. Brian,
Oh, good lord. I did not attend the, any meetings last week because I was predisposed because it got shifted. So I know that, you saw that email, the, canteen contract and some other things are going on,
Mhm.
and I'm still waiting to find out what we're gonna do with the, when we're gonna submit, or when the, possibly to submit the naming of the.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so other than that, and then I wasn't able to attend anything else. So.
Downtown improvement team is coming to the end of refining their marketing pitch to help advertise Manchester as a great place to open up a business, and they're gonna dry run it with a local realty firm in a couple of weeks. The facilities planning committee met last week. And we reviewed the 90% design for the Lincoln Street well. It looked good. The team, the consultant had met with us previously, and they really did absorb our feedback and scaled back a little bit some of the bells and whistles. And even though they did that, the estimated price tag went up a little bit since we last talked to them. So I think the plan, according to Chuck, is to go out for bid and have the general bids back before town meeting. So we know what we're dealing with. We're crossing our fingers though, because we did talk total cost of ownership here. We're gonna have a new building we didn't have before, right? So that increases your operational costs, right? So when I poked at that, the big thing is we're trying to cross our fingers that the state won't require us to add an additional FTE for an additional operator because we're doing additional purification. So we're doing things we weren't doing before, and we're just hoping the state won't require us to add personnel for that. That would be a big hit to the operations budget. Other than that, they don't really believe there's gonna be a big impact, but we'll see.
Has that happened in other places that have already done this?
We didn't discuss the details, but it was more of a state requirement, and right now we're in the crossing our fingers stage. But I'll poke at that a little more when we meet, and I think it's next week we're gonna meet again. The other thing we looked at is Chuck created, or I should say the team created a document comparing all of the options on the other major facilities that we're looking at, DPW, police, fire. And so the team has, the committee has the action to review that in detail and provide feedback by the end of this week. And then at our next meeting, we'll go through that in detail. The next meeting, we're also going to have a little bit of a logistics discussion on how we want to bring forth our recommendation to our various boards that we're representing. When do we achieve a consensus versus taking a formal vote, and talking about some of the communication aspects. So Joe Began, who is from the Bike and Ped Committee, he's the chair of this facilities planning committee, and he's got us on a good track. So more to come.
We've already heard John, I've done my, Board of Health. They're not doing any, they approved some septic systems, but they finally come around to accepting free money. Which, the, good news from the school committee is that the, increase in the school budget, has been cut way back, and, I think our share will be about, six, yeah. Right, come on in, you can sit, you can talk. 654,000 more or less, which is substantially down from what they, what's likely to happen is that they will vote on that in the next couple of weeks, and then continue to try and reduce the cost. That means we'll do our budget planning based on their figure, their figure, and then they may reduce their health insurance costs even more.
So you said the budget increase to us
Yes.
is now 650-ish thousand instead of the 800,000
Yes.
that they thought it was. Okay.
Yes. And, you know, they think they're doing us a great favor by continuing to shave away at it, and they probably are, but it doesn't do much for the budget because we have to budget for what they.
Right, we have a timeline.
Yeah.
More than familiar with that, Kathy, it was the first numbers that we got from them was a $1.3 million increase to us.
Oh, I thought it was
compared to
800.
last
Okay.
year. And now, it's closer to
654.
654, so it's a significant,
So that will give us a little more breathing room in working out the budget.
So where does that leave that total shortfall?
so we were short. We were giving them an addition in the recommended budget, we were increasing their budget 588,000. So now we're short 70, 80 grand compared to being short 730 grand.
Right, that's what.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's good, yeah.
Most of the cost reduction was in health insurance. Their provider, I think their providers told them originally that they should expect 21% increase, and now they're saying 14. So they're maintaining the program. They're not cutting into the program. They're taking on raising fees for this and that, especially extracurricular stuff. But they have a program where kids whose family really can't do that can be covered. So
Yeah,
that seemed like good news.
yeah, that's good news.
I was at
It'll all go to Essex Tech now. Like kidding.
the finance committee. The finance committee, as we've heard, approved. The finance committee recommended If we have some summer hours in the library. Trying to, the major discussion was with the harbor, capital budget. And I think the finance committee is cutting way back, particularly on new boats, trailers, cutters, trucks.
So
So,
we already did that.
well,
Good.
we did, things happen kind of in exactly in parallel. And it's nice when both the select board and the finance committee agree. So they did approve, longer, hours for the boats just circling around, because apparently last year Andy did it because he's salaried and he didn't know what he's salaried for, but he did drive a boat around at night.
Yeah.
They don't particularly have numbers, they don't keep track of how many incidents they have and what kind of incidents, what time. So we heard a lot of, oh, there's a big problem without numbers.
They did say they're gonna start to track that, didn't they?
They said, yeah, they
'Cause
said.
I was
they're
really
going-
kind of surprised that they
They
had.
should, yeah.
But they were talking, what, 10 o'clock at night or
10
something?
o'clock at
Yeah.
night, yeah.
That wasn't included in my recommended budget, which is what they approved, the finance committee, but we talked about revisiting
Okay,
the additional
okay,
hours. This predated our updated numbers from the school, so I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
well,
come back to it
yeah,
But
later.
if it's related to the launch fees need to support that.
Yes, that was discussed. This was patrol. There was a brief discussion about launch membership may increase if they had later hours that they were servicing, but the primary source of the request for additional funds was for patrol, not really launch.
they did handle the lunch separately and there was some discussion about how they were going to pay back the original investment, and they've been doing some, but it was, looking like a 30-year loan. Is both in this.
But we also talked about the process to increase the fees starting in the spring. And hopefully getting those approved so that we can install them into the software, into the system in the fall for the following calendar year.
Well, but there was also in the original plan, there was also a specified amount of time by which we had to pay the town back for the boats.
What was, do you remember what
I
that
don't,
was?
I think we should look up the
Do you have-
documents.
Do you have a copy of that?
I'm sure I
There
can
was
find
like a business plan of
Yeah.
some sort?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, if
sure I
you
can
could
find it.
share that.
Yeah.
Their
It
balance
was very
sheet,
specific because we didn't want to get into rose-colored glasses, right? And keep this thing going if the costs were not being covered by the fees. We had very specific guidelines. If it's not making money or breaking even, by this point in time, we shut it down. That was done deliberately. So
Yeah.
I will dig up that document. Bion should have it, but if he doesn't, I do.
the balance sheet was down to the 90s. We paid 120.
It brought in more money than it expended last year. But that's
That's different.
different from adding in the cost of the original
Yeah.
capital investment. So that's where I need to see.
They transfer that surplus to pay it down.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're in the 90s now.
Yeah.
That's on the sheet that they passed out at the finance meeting.
So that's 15,000.
It was like an average of 15.
Yeah.
Per year, something like
No,
that.
it is. I'll see if I can find it, but if not, Peter Twining is the one, a member of the finance committee that I worked with on this. So if I don't have it, I know he does, so.
Well, that'll help. That'll help us in the rate, like possible rate increase discussion.
Absolutely.
We want to try and make sure we're following, we don't increase the rates and it doesn't support that.
the rate increase can't happen for this year. It has to happen because the people are already signed up.
Right. Right.
That's it for me. We've done the consent agenda. Town administrators quarterly review.
I sent you a document today. It was the goals with a status. And just run through those quickly here. So for personnel, fill the vacancy of the land use clerk, that's been completed. Activate the health and human services team leader position, that's been completed. Fill the vacancy of the council on aging director, completed. Fill the expected vacancy of the chief of police, we talked about that tonight, so that's initiated. And we're negotiating the union contracts currently. For communication goals, submitting to the town administrator columns to the Cricket each month, that is happening. It didn't happen in this last month because of the end of year Cricket process, schedule. Develop a web page that tracks progress of efforts approved by town meeting, mostly focused on capital projects. We haven't gotten into that yet, so we'll be getting into that probably post town meeting. On budget, finances, and policies, all of these are ongoing. So 5-year financial forecast for the town, 5-year capital plan, developing, promoting a balanced operational budget, making recommendations for development of a new short-term rental bylaw. So one article this year will be changing the definition. That was the discussion we had a few months back for the upcoming town meeting. We're just going to keep it simple, change the definition, and then revisit probably with the planning board what a short-term rental bylaw might look like. Because some of that will be zoning related. Infrastructure, all of these are ongoing as well. So developing a strategy to pursue a backup funding source for the Central Street Culvert project. We're pursuing backup funding through town meeting as well as applying for an MVP regional action grant. Support the facility planning committee to develop current and long-term plans. Directly support, promote, and advance efforts regarding the new senior center. That is a daily occurrence. Prioritize climate change preparedness study for Ocean Street, where hopefully be, as we talked about earlier, we'll be having our first public forum in the spring. And then PFAS, construction funding. So that's as well another capital item for the upcoming town meeting.
John, any questions?
A long list. Got something going on with all, but one thing with the terminology, I think you ought to probably define. In progress is for projects that at some point there's an end date and then it disappears. Ongoing means it's in your life forever.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And for some of these, like under budget, 2 and 3 are in progress. At some point, 2 and 3 are going to end, and then they kind of
For
disappear.
this year,
Yeah, yeah. But 1 and 4, they're ongoing. And then an infrastructure, 1 is kind of in progress because that will go away when that's been identified. And it's the same with 3, 4, and 5. I think they have endpoints.
Yeah.
Number
I'm not
2.
sure about 3.
Fair enough. So you might make that distinction in future ones, but otherwise, I think that you've got a lot of balls in the air here. And
I just said that.
And I hope we can catch them all coming down, or you can anyway.
Yep.
So it's, but you've been on top of the case and done an excellent job. Thank you throughout the past quarter.
Yeah, I think you've done a great job so far. I appreciate all your work and you got a real list going there, but I think you can handle it, so.
Thank you.
I got it.
You saved me for last. Okay, ready? No. No, excellent job. You know, you're deep into it now. I think when, when we talked 3 months ago, whatever, you were, had transitioned extremely well, but there was still a lot you had to learn about. So I think you did that really well. The last time we talked, I agree with John, regarding the goals, you're deep into this stuff and not enough that you should put some timelines here. If for no other reason, it's something you should communicate to your team so they understand there are timelines and deadlines, and it helps things move faster if you have a date on that. Last time we talked about your review, we talked about, you being able to learn differently, not attend every single meeting. I can see definitely you've moved away from that, and you certainly seem more comfortable that you don't have to be in every meeting now on everything. And I was wondering, it's about scaling up, right? So how do you feel that's going? And do you feel you still need to delegate a little more in some areas, or are you feeling, more comfortable with that?
I think it's some of it is a product of like what we're into at the moment.
Mhm.
Throughout the year, the focus changes month by month.
Right.
Right now, we're so heavily involved in budget and town meeting preparation and those types of things that I don't have the bandwidth. Even if I wanted to be in those meetings, I couldn't be. Once we get through town meeting, we already have mapped out the next 3 months where we're going to be looking at some of these larger projects or policies and procedures, where I'm going to have to delegate a lot of those things as well. So I think it's going well. But sometimes in this, you kind of got to get through the whole like 1 year cycle to really see how you might make changes, moving forward.
That's right.
Because these 4 months right now are gonna be nothing like the next, the 4 months after town meeting.
I think that's true in any leadership position. There are cycles. There's like an HR cycle, there's a budget cycle, there's a strat planning cycle. That's the most leadership jobs. So I think that's good that you recognize that. I'm glad you mentioned the projects, because I think that's an area where, in some projects, it's clear to me which one of your direct reports is taking the lead. And there are some projects I know that are still yours. So as you, like you said, get past the budget cycle, the fact that for any big project, you make sure one of your direct reports is the lead and you can help them, right? That will, I think, still help you quite a bit, because then that's good for their development as well.
Yep. Yeah.
I think everything's going great. So thank you.
Thanks.
I concur. It seemed at first that you were running in all directions all at once. And it seems a little calmer now, which I'm sure is good for you. And it's also good for the town. Getting the right focus.
We have such a good team, from department heads to support staff underneath that, to the people out on the road, everybody is truly rowing in the same direction, which allows for me to seem calm. It really goes back to, it really goes to the staff, the team, and, their help, their support for me allows me to support you and so forth, so.
Do we have to give a grade, or do we just?
No, I'll add some timelines to that and send it back out, but
We'll pass it, fail.
All is well.
This, okay.
I think I ran out of strikes with you, so. Leave it open ended.
You have an open account now.
And now it's your report.
Right, because we had so much on the agenda tonight, so we're just gonna go right into really use the town administrator's report for budget discussions. The biggest of that is the school budget numbers that you just spoke about. We've now been in front of the finance committee 3 times. They've voted on the operational budget of the police, the town clerk, the library, CPC, but we'll be revisiting that, health, council on aging, harbor, finance department, and cherry sheet non-appropriated funds. We did not get to the town administrator select board numbers at the last meeting. And then this Thursday is fire department, recreation, veteran services, and hopefully we'll get to the town administrator and select board numbers this Thursday. But we're meeting every single Thursday, and we're on a good schedule. I think we're working at a good pace. The operational budget is so thin as far as increases this year. I think that's probably why we're getting through things pretty quickly. The capital items, the big items is health insurance, school, and those types of things. Those will be lengthy discussions once we get into early March. As far as town meeting articles go, we have all of our standard articles. We'll have some prior year bills. Andrew and I are working together on a draft warrant to share with you at our next, probably have that in the packet for you for the next meeting. As I showed you that schedule a while back, articles are required to be submitted to the select board 60 days in advance of town meeting, which is the last day of February. Our next meeting is the 17th, so that's why the planning board will be coming to us with their articles, and then we will have send them right back so that they can start to notice their 2-week notice period for their hearing, and then have their recommendations included in the finance committee report, which is due at the end of March. So we have that short-term rental definition article. And then Mr. Glovsky is here as well. Before we get into CPC, which will be a lengthy discussion, I would like to give him the opportunity to talk to you about the article that he's requesting, which is a surplus of town property that abuts his property. His wife's property. Chuck and I have, this actually came in June, I think you had some discussion with Greg prior to me, but we've met on site, we've talked about it, and as far as DPW and I are concerned, we're good with the request as long as the town retains access rights to the property. So with that.
I can explain a little bit. Good evening, I'm Mark Levsky, and I happen to be married to the property owner. And she acquired 1 Elm Street, which was the original home of the Cricket Press, that small little building on the right as you go down Elm Street. It's adjacent to Central Pond, and she acquired it in 1998. The building's not in good shape, and it's going to need to be significantly renovated. And in anticipation of that, we were looking at the property to try to determine how best to improve. I took a look at the title and realized there's a very unusual mess that was created in 1906. And I can do this very quickly, I think. These plans were prepared in 1923. maybe I should pass them.
Because we know the deal.
The plans were prepared in 1923 to enable the formalization of an agreement between the town and the owner of the property. In 1906, the town of Manchester filled in a small portion of what was formerly Central Pond, which is adjacent to this property, and built a retaining wall. When the property was filled, it was contemplated that there was going to be a boundary line agreement essentially between the town and the property owner, whereby the curved line that you see, which represents the old shoreline, was going to be replaced by a straight line. That straight line is actually reflected on the assessor's maps in town. So the assessor's office in the town is assumed, and everyone's assumed that that conveyance occurred. It never did happen, however. So what's being proposed is that the town would sell or declare the property surplus so that it could be sold. It's only about 900 square feet. The 912 square feet, which is what the assessors say, is based on the straight line. So it's approximately 900 feet, but that could vary a little bit. And what we're hoping to do is we want to improve that, re-landscape, and just clean it up. It really does nothing for the town. We've entered into another boundary line agreement with the town because of the Central Pond project. So all along 1 Elm and 5 Elm, which is the Mariposa barn, that back lot line was agreed upon between the town and my wife last year in anticipation of the town's Central Pond project. So this is somewhat related to that.
So you're looking to go all the way to the retaining wall, or you're just looking for the portion between the dotted and the straight line?
To go to the retaining wall. The town right now owns the land from the retaining wall to the curved line. Although the town thinks it owns to the straight line. But so what we're hoping to do is acquire that 900 square feet. It takes it right to the retaining wall.
Right, okay, I just want to make sure we was.
Probably too small for public safety building.
It's a piece of property that probably can't be used for anything. And so it's gonna come off, it's gonna go onto the tax,
So it's gonna make us preference.
so it'll generate a little income for the town. In addition to whatever the property is sold for.
And it will enable renovations or reconstruction.
And re-landscaping, cleaning it up. It's just been a mess.
So the public procurement program, we still, it has to be advertised, right?
Well, I think you need to talk to whoever the town council is that
We don't know yet.
will deal with this issue. Because there are exceptions in 30B relating to low value real estate. And so, yes, you have to declare it surplus property. It's unclear what the next step is, and hopefully Koppelman and Page or the co-counsel can assist in that regard.
So has there been a value established for this piece of land, or is this all part of the process?
The town has it assessed for about $800.
Going 900%.
Okay,
What we need to do is have an article on the warrant declaring that land surplus.
Authorizing
Yes,
the town to dispose of the property.
But we have to have some kind of value.
$800.
No, that'll double check with legal if the select board's open to, including this on the warrant. I'll check with legal as to whether we need an appraised amount prior to town meeting. Or if we can use the assessed amount.
We need to know that, because the first thing people are gonna ask is, what is this property worth?
Mhm.
At town meeting, so we have to have some kind of answer for
Yeah,
And how you got there.
that, right?
and I'm assuming our town assessor could come up with a relevant value for it, but I just don't know if legally we're required to have an official appraisal prior to town meeting.
Waterfront property.
Yeah. And the other thing is, as you heard, Tony told you that we've agreed with Chuck Dam that whatever he wants to do with respect to easement over it is fine. So the town is going to get dispose of the property, but still have the same benefit as it had before it disposed of the property, to the extent it needs to access the retaining wall or central pond. The town will have an easement over it.
Assuming
Okay,
that,
so let me ask this question, who's gonna be responsible for the retaining wall after this? We are still,
The town will own the
Yeah,
retaining
the
wall.
retaining wall stays. The land that we're surplusing is inside the retaining wall to that curved line. But we still are retaining wall. And if we have to make repairs to it, if there's issues with it, we have the right to access that property to do it.
well, okay. Cause we've run into this problem before.
On the
So,
other side,
The other side.
right, on the other side, and we don't own that retaining wall.
I've heard mixed
Well,
opinions.
There's a question,
there's a
what-
question there, right?
If we probably do, but due to adverse possession, we probably don't anymore.
Right.
I've heard mixed opinions on that.
just in hopes of getting home sometime. So what we need is I would think, probably a citizen petition, although we could adopt it.
We can put it on,
We can put it on.
yeah.
We need somebody to write it.
I've drafted it,
Okay.
but I haven't sent it to council for review or asked those questions, because I wanted to
I
make
guess
sure you were good
the
first.
question that I should have asked first is there, aside from the question of how we assess a value, is there any opposition to this?
As long, there's no opposition as long as we come up with some kind of value that stand on.
Do you, there seems to be someone in the crowd with their hand up. Do you want to?
Oh, sure, sorry. Yes, Mr. Ottinger.
Hi, Henry Ottinger, 22 School Street. For the purposes of this conversation, I represent Conservation Commission as well, I think. I feel like we'd like to take a look at this and maybe weigh in if that's appropriate, Tony.
What would Concom's input be based on for surplus property? Just want,
Solely on the virtue of the resource, the location to the resource.
Not changing.
Yeah, the use isn't changing.
The use isn't changing, right?
No,
Just ownership is changing.
Well, you don't have any intentions of building out into that area, right?
no.
and
if they do
you would
that,
have to go to
that's-
Concom if you're not gonna do that.
I'm just saying off the get-go.
Yeah.
When is the Concom's next meeting?
Henry,
It's Tuesday tomorrow night.
I'd be happy to meet somebody from the Concom to do a site visit if they want to before tomorrow night.
Well,
They probably can't consider it because of the agenda. Probably. They can't change their agenda at this point, but,
I think
yes,
there's
I
a
think,
scope issue though. Like, what does this have to do with?
I mean,
the sale? If
Concom's I'd be happy to take Concom's input on this, but I don't think that their jurisdiction is affected at all by
Right.
us.
I guess I was gonna say, if the sale goes through and Mr. Glovsky decides he wants to do something with that piece of land,
Right.
then it would go
Yeah.
through Concom,
Right,
right?
exactly.
But right now, this is just a transition of ownership.
The project at One Elm will have to go to the Concom ultimately.
Mhm.
But nothing is gonna really change on this piece of property other than perhaps some landscaping.
Yeah.
And it's, as you know, elevated above Central Pond and separated by the retaining wall. It's not wet, but it is within 100 feet.
So at that point, you'd have to make the application.
Yes,
Right. Now, all those improvements would be subject to the approval of the Concom.
right.
So, basically, the Concom couldn't act on this until after it would be too late for us to have it on the warrant.
Hey, I don't know what they would act on, but if they have opinion on the matter and want to provide it to us before we close the warrant at the end of the month, happy to take that on, but
Even if we close the warrant, we can have an opinion from them.
yeah, we can open it and,
On the floor.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Okay, I think even with the comment, the board is content to have this put in front of the town.
All right. So, I'll get answers to those questions now.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, this was a very interesting experience.
I'm gonna try it every
Have a
other
low
week.
threshold of interest.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I will move to CPC. I know Jack and Andrew are on the call as well. Try to get through this quickly. The biggest item here is the Rotunda project. If you flip to the last page on this handout is the spreadsheet of all the projects before the CPC this year. They have their total expected funds for FY 27 is $564,000.
Can we get this electronically?
Sure, yes. Under open space and recreation, requested amount to be spent is 51,600. Under community housing, 200,000. Under historic preservation, 70,100. 25,000 administrative, and that adds up to $346,700 with remaining available FY 27 funds of $273,451. We went through a alternative analysis financial process on the Rotunda. And in this packet, what you have here is, if you go to page, the beginning of it just gives you background on the Rotunda, but if you go to page 6, I realize the numbers are kind of cut off there. We need about $3.6 million for the Rotunda project. We have 1.3 million already funded or appropriated, 800,000 in taxation and free cash, and then 500,000 from CPC from previous fiscal years. So we talked about potentially borrowing the remaining amount that we need through the CPC program. Now you could borrow that through the CPC program and not adjust the CPC rate. So that's option number one. Obviously, there's zero tax bill impact on that option because you're not adjusting the rate obviously, in doing that, you are affecting CPC's ability to fund projects in future years because they'll have debt service as part of their future fiscal year budget. Option 2 was borrow through the CPC, but increase the CPC rate to 3%, which would have a tax bill impact of $117.45. This is at $3 million borrowing. And then option 3 was, to not go through the CPC at all and borrow the funds through the town, which is $102 tax bill impact. The finance committee spoke with the CPC on this. I wasn't at that meeting. My understanding is this finance committee was pretty adamant that they, would prefer not to increase the CPC rate or handcuff future years of the CPC and borrow the funds through the town. And then possibly have CPC commit additional funds this year and next year in cash towards the project, reducing how much we have to borrow. That was tied into reducing how much CPC was going to put from this year towards the Affordable Housing Trust. The CPC then decided that they did not want to reduce how much they were going to put towards the Affordable Housing Trust. So that's new information. However, CPC still has an additional 200 and whatever I said, 240, 273. Oh, thank you, Jack. $273,000 this year that they could put in cash towards the Rotunda project. Also new information is Andrea looked at, working with Nate, the timing of the project. It would not allow for the CPC to commit cash towards the Rotunda next year because of the way that the borrowing works. If the town were to borrow the money, CPC can't allocate funds towards town debt service. And since the debt would already start, they really would be able to contribute next year. The other thought that we talked about at length with the finance committee was because of the school budget issue, this discussion predated the new school number. Because of the school budget issue and health insurance and things of that nature, what we could do was reallocate money that has been the 800,000 or a portion of the 800,000 that have been appropriated in previous fiscal years to pay down OPEB and to help with funding of the school budget. And then that amount that we reallocate would get added to what we borrow through the town for the Rotunda project. So those are all that's kind of shifting now. That's all new information.
So that'll bring our OPEB current, right?
Right. If we have $360,000 in our current version of our budget for OPEB, if we get to 420, we'll have satisfied, our portion. We wouldn't have to put additional money towards it next year either. So it kind of solves some of our issue now and into the future.
And we would be totally funding the retirees from the trust rather than from our budget.
Starting next year. Right.
Saving.
Yeah. So now that we only need to find $70,000 for the school, we may not need to reallocate as much of the money that we had appropriated in previous years for Rotunda, thus reducing the amount that we have to borrow for the Rotunda. Does that merit another discussion about possibly going through the CPC with the finance committee? Maybe.
I think we'll have to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there was strong feeling on the part of the finance committee that the Affordable Housing Trust has a lot of money and hasn't done anything. And giving them more money to do nothing. The Affordable Housing Trust, of course, explains that they have been doing things, they just haven't worked yet. So,
I do think that the Affordable Housing Trust, which has about $1.2 million, I think,
More,
a little bit more than that.
1.6,
but I don't think
Oh.
it's what-
yeah.
Anyways, I do think at some point, their need from CPC as far as funding goes on an annual basis, it's gonna decrease. I can't imagine that they're gonna be needing $200,000 every year for the next,
100 years.
yeah, even 5 or 10 years. I imagine they're almost I think they're very close to having enough in their budget to be competitive in the real estate market. And once they get over that hump, or once the town meets their obligation, what's their annual operating needs? Probably a lot less than 200,000 per year.
And
And this, under this scenario of $3 million through the current CPC rate of a 20-year debt service, it's still, that would be $225,000 of debt service per year through CPC. That leaves them $338,027, 353, still close to about $400,000. Now that 3 million may be closer to 2.5 now because of the school budget, and us not needing to reappropriate some of those funds. So that debt service amount should go down, thus the amount of available funds after debt service may go up. So these are the things that
And
we
you
gotta
have to
talk
deal
about.
somewhat with the fact that there are also factions on the finance committee who don't trust that the CPC matching money is ever going to come to anything significant. And that in that case, it doesn't make any difference who borrows it.
That is fair, and that's a fair opinion to have. I don't necessarily disagree with the FinCom's position at the moment, but I do think that enough new information has come to light that it's based on the fact that we have so much capital need this year. And a lot of those capital items are going to have tax bill impacts. The fact that there's an option here that would have 0 tax bill impact, I think it's really important we, talk about it as much as we can and really, if it's not the way we go, it's okay, but I think based on the new information that we have about the school budget and that CPC actually has an additional 270 something thousand dollars this year, that could be held on to and be the first debt service payment next year. Those are just, there's just a lot at stake, I think.
And
it's
there are
worth-
lots of, all the pieces are moving.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the finance meeting that you were at, and there were opinions there with regard to whether it would really be feasible to have the CPC borrow money. What is that being backed by? They do not have the ability to tax per se.
On the other hand, there was a fairly authoritative opinion that if CPC has a debt, we
That,
cannot get rid of the CPC until the debt is paid.
no, that eventually the town is going to be on the hook for that.
Well, you could get rid of CPC, but you're gonna be on the hook for it until that debt is paid off.
There was some discussion about that, whether a lender would say, okay, or and see through that or not.
I don't think. Yeah, I think we should just keep talking about it. I'm not necessarily against borrowing it outside of CPC.
It's just something more that becomes more visible to the taxpayer as, oh, this is something else we're borrowing.
Well, but
And
I think to Tony's point, if we can keep it within the CPC this year, it's a way of controlling.
then it doesn't become so visible.
Yeah.
The amount of money that we're borrowing, the town is borrowing is less,
Yeah,
even though the CPC is a plus.
but I want to be cautious about how much we handcuff future years of CPC ability. But I do think that the demand for the Affordable Housing Trust is going to decrease, and that's $200,000 a year for the last, I think, four or 5 years they've been,
What, if they're up to over $1 million?
it's been even longer.
It's been 10, what, 10 years, right?
No, it's gonna be more than that.
Yeah, it's gotta be more than that. What are they?
Oh, 10 years would be $2 million, never mind.
Yeah.
I was a history major.
What was it?
Um,
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
They were 1.6.
So I'm looking at this, 200,
But yeah, it really depends upon the kinds of deals they try to do. I mean, if you're buying a property, yeah, that's been up. If you're trying to do a deal with some sort of developer,
projects.
that number could be anything. I don't know.
I did look at, I looked at
Remember this?
total amount spent on projects by the CPC going back to 2006. So in 2006, it was about $127,000. 2007, about 200,000. 2008, 110. 2009, 207. And it kind of stayed around this $200,000 to $300,000 per year through 2014.
And that's probably when the Affordable Housing Trust started taking.
Then in 2015, it jumped up to 800,000 spent, 700,000 spent in 16, 575 in 17, 308 and 445 in 18 and 19.
They must have built up a surplus.
Jack's on the call. Jack could probably speak to why some of those years bounced up, but more so I want to understand, like, if CPC had $300,000 to $400,000 to use a year, would that be debilitating or would that be a healthy amount?
It's helping out, because from what I'm looking at, and again, Jack can speak to this, is that we removed the $200,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust. It's $140,000 worth of projects being done. And that seems to be a reflective of what we saw when we first started. All right, and there's a lot of little, I mean, we're looking $15,000, $20,000, $3,000. And that takes care of a lot of issues or items.
I don't think that there's a huge backlog of historical preservation projects. I don't think there's a huge backlog of open space and recreation projects.
It's all been resolved. I think Parks and Rec usually is, they're looking for things to spend money on.
So actually though, there was something I expected to see on this list that I did, and that was the new signage for a Singing Beach. Jack, is that in the, I see the signage for Reed Park and Pine Street Field, but I don't see the seasonal signage that we talked about in the select board in November.
Yeah, there's several $1,000s in that budget for the Singing Beach signs.
What is that it says signage for Reed Park and Pine Street. That includes the Singing Beach seasonal signs?
Yes, it's going to be about 12,000 for those two signs. So the additional funds would be for any other signs that Parks and Rec needs.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to clean up the language for the warrant article.
Jack, would you comment on anything I had to say? Do you have any input there?
Well, first of all, if we were to bond using about 40%, 50% of our annual funds, it will grow 2, 3, 4% a year with 2.5% and new growth. We can probably survive, especially if we knock down the Affordable Housing Trust somewhat. We do have to give 10% of our funds to the affordable housing category every year. So we cannot eliminate it. I will say that I went back to our to the CPC last week after the Finance Committee had told us that they were only going to support $60,000 of that. And I was ready to reduce it. And the CPC voted by a vote of 7-1 to keep our recommendation at 200,000 for this year. So we will not be reducing the Affordable Housing Trust recommendation going to town meeting.
And you still have $273,000 available after that.
That's correct. It's actually the item number 6 of the open space, $2,500 has been pulled till next year. So it's 275 now.
So that 275 could either be appropriated in cash for Rotunda if we wanted to go down that road, and then it would reduce the amount that we borrow.
That's correct.
Or it could be, if we borrowed through CPC, that amount could be held in reserve, held by CPC for future year spending and could go towards debt service.
Yes, but we will have sufficient funds starting next year to pay the bond without doing that. So we could give you the 275 and still bond in the future.
Yeah, I mean, if anything that we have talked about falls into the category of community preservation, to me, the Rotunda is it. I mean,
That's the community right there.
it's the only reason we're doing it. I mean, literally, it doesn't serve a functional, it's beautiful. It's part of the culture of the town. That's why we're doing it. So I don't know why we wouldn't pay for it as much as we can out of the CPC budget.
So I have a question. So there's been talk about if we can do Morris Pier, the Reed Park extension, and Tux all at the same time, there's potential savings there, right? Get one crew here. So whatever we end up doing here, is that jeopardizing our ability to keep all those in the same window? No.
Unless it isn't funded, whether it's funded through town borrowing or CPC borrowing, it doesn't matter. We'd still be able to coordinate those projects together.
So it's not a timeline.
So what we're saying is, we're gonna borrow the money, we're just trying to figure out which pocket it's coming from.
Yeah.
Right, and you have a zero tax bill
I believe
option, but it has a handcuff element to the CPC in future years.
Jack seems to
Well,
think it won't.
The only thing I would say too is that this is the one area of town meeting where the town really understands what they're voting for. Each line item, we go through each line item and somebody says, I want to hold, they really get it. A lot of the other stuff they're voting on is kind of, esoteric, or it's hard to see. This is easy to see. So the town can either say yay or nay. That's another reason I'd like to see it under the CPC budget. It's given the town people's control.
Okay, Rosemary, I think you had your hand up first.
Hi, yeah, so I'm speaking on behalf of the CPC myself, not historic preservation. I support.
Tell us what your name is and what your address is. Please.
Sure, Rosemary Costello, 12 Bennett Street. And so I'm wearing my CPC hat, not my historic district or historical commission hat. I'm, as a historical commission member, supportive of the Rotunda Preservation Project. As a CPC member, I know that we've heard from both Parks and Rec and I think the DPW about projects at Sweeney Field and the bathhouse at the beach. And I think we could use CPC bonding for those projects as well. So I'm hesitant to throw all our bond capacity into the Rotunda when there may be other capital projects that are CPC bond eligible in the future.
We have a luxury of time, do we?
Right, that's a problem.
I think the difference with
Okay.
Sweeney Field is, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think CPC can fund that entire project, whereas Rotunda, I think it can. You know, there's portions of Sweeney Field a project that I don't know are eligible for CPC. And Bathhouse, I think, is still, I don't know if any of that is eligible. That's still
Yeah,
kind of a question.
I think that's recreation. I think that falls under recreation.
The bathhouse would be a difficult one to get by the statute. We can renovate, we can do some renovations to enhance it, but not a major $500,000 total renovation.
Before we get too far off, I'd like to hear from Sarah Melish.
Thank you, Sarah Melish, 11 Bennett Street, Chair of the Finance Committee and Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. I think that Kathy raised a concern about the fact that the rotunda was so important to the community that it would be clearer what we were paying for if it went through CPC. And I wanted to correct that, because if it's paid for with a bond through the town, it goes as a separate warrant article for the debt exclusion. So the town would know that it's paying 3.6 million as an appropriation to cover the cost of that rotunda. One of my ideas, creative as it may be, was to, we have to appropriate the whole amount anyway. It doesn't matter who funds it. The town has to appropriate it so it can go out to bid. But one of my ideas is if we pulled back some of that cash the town had appropriated in prior years to the rotunda and enable us to fund the full 420,000 to the OPEB, then next year we're having an $800,000 swing in our town resources, because not only will we not pay the 400,000 for OPEB, but we would be paying 450,000 out of the OPEB trust for the retirees' benefits. So you're talking only one tough year this year, and certainly the fact that the school is pulling back their budget is helping that. And we, when we discussed it in the finance committee, why not have the town pay for it? The current match through CPC is 16%. It's gone down every year. So you're not saving money really, and you're tying the hands of the CPC for future projects. And we do have future projects in Parks and Rec that need to be funded. So that's kind of where we were coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to say that we're not going to solve this problem tonight.
No, I didn't think we would.
And I think we've got enough numbers floating around that we need 2 weeks to think about it. And we've got time. So
Can we get an updated, I haven't looked at all of the meeting footage from the FinCon meetings. Could we get, if there have been updates recommended, could Andrea just get us the updated budget book?
Yes.
That'd be helpful.
Yes.
Whatever few pages have been changed.
I think there's only the only thing that they approved operationally is the additional funds for the library that wasn't included in my budget. But now we're going to have changes in my recommended amount to reflect the updated school number. We as well have been have received a signal that our health insurance would be likely more closer to like a 14-15% increase. Whereas the current budget has a 20% increase in there, so we can bring that down. So we'll send an updated.
Yeah, sometime if we're gonna talk about this at our next meeting, it would be nice to have the real numbers in
Everything
front of us.
right.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. I think,
Madam Chair, yeah,
Jack,
thank you. The rotunda, as you know, is not anything we're going to make a decision on tonight and how to fund it. However, the slate of CPC recommendations before you is our up-to-date slate that we have voted on, with the exception of that $2,500 for the Pine Street access, number 6. I'm not sure if everybody has that on 6, but on the open space. Okay. So I would wondering if the select board is ready to vote to approve their support for the CPC at this point at town meeting.
Need to finish our discussion.
Yeah, I
before we
think
do
you want
it.
yeah, I would like not to go to the town meeting with different recommendations from the finance committee. So this is something that we need to. hash
I
out.
That was exactly why I brought it back to my committee, thinking that maybe the committee would agree with the finance committee, but the CPC did not. And they're sticking to the $200,000, which is something that the committee can do and bring to the town meeting.
So the CPC has to go back on the finance committee agenda in one of these Thursdays.
I think we'll be talking about harbor capital projects generally in an upcoming FinCom meeting with the DPW. That's scheduled
There's
for 2/12. And then Sarah said that she put CPC on the agenda, added CPC to later in the.
later in this, so it's going back up.
It will be going
for
back.
obvious reasons.
Sarah, do you have a comment?
Yes, the finance committee has not yet voted on any CPC items. We had a discussion, we did not take a vote, and so I believe I have it on the March 12th for a vote for all of the CPC, but we have not yet voted on the CPC items.
So it will be going back.
Right.
So you can wait, the select board can wait then.
We got it.
No, it's a mess, but we're not gonna get any further quarter after 9.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a constant mess. It's a constant mess, but things are going in a good direction. You know, we're flushing out as much information as we can, analyzing all these different options. We're getting improved numbers. You know, we had kind of a plan. Now numbers have changed for the better. It allows us to think differently. So it's all positive stuff. And, you know, the finance committee is really moving along in their process. So I'm happy where we are. We have a lot more work to do, but I'm happy where we are currently.
We're going in the right direction.
Yes.
Now.
In that case, unless there are more things on your report, we should go into executive session, pursuant to general laws, chapter 38, section 20A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate property at the Masonic Hall, 10 Church Street, And the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Is there a second?
And not to return to.
Not to return to open session.
Second.
Okay, Jeff,
Yes.
Brian.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Yes.
And yes.
John, yes.
Yes. So we are going into executive session. We can release the unfortunate person from 1623. And close to the. Recording. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.